Hi, my name's Ashley Canfield. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, a graduate of North Carolina School of the Arts, and former professional dancer. I'm here today to help instruct you guys in a couple helpful tips and exercises to help you guys prevent lower extremity injuries, so your low back, pelvis, hips, knees, ankles, and feet, hopefully. So a couple key topics that I'm going to go over today are active warm-up, how you can prepare your body for class and rehearsals, a strength training introduction and why you should be cross-training, as well as some safe stretching techniques so that you don't overstretch and promote joint damage. Research out there right now says that stretching is not the way to go. Strengthening will actually help prevent more injuries than stretching. Part of that is when you look at stretching, you're overbearing the joint in terms of its laxity. So dancers are typically really bendy people anyways, and you're good at stretching, but what we're not so good at is maintaining the strength around the joint so it's not just causing continuous damage to the cartilage. When we look at professional companies, they've actually done a couple research studies recently where they take away stretching from the dancers, and they actually saw a decrease in injury rates after doing that. So what this tells us is dancers in general don't need to stretch a whole lot. We need to focus more on our strength training programs. While we require enough joint mobility to do these supernatural feats like put our legs straight up in the air, we don't want to overstretch and cause instability of our joints. Along those same lines, we want to warm up our body enough to be able to perform those things, moving our joints through their full range of motion without overstretching them, increasing your tissue temperature so that the muscles and ligaments and tendons are more supple, can help reduce the risk of sprains and strains. You want to be able to feel a light sweat before you go to the bar, which I think some of us, we get out of school or we just, run into class because traffic kept us, before we could get there. Really, that's not ideal because the joints and the muscles and your bones just are not ready to perform at that point in time. You want to start with things like walking, jogging. If there's stairs in your studio, go up and down the stairs a couple times. I know at Richmond Ballet we rehearsed on the second or third floor, and it was really good to be able to, walk from the parking lot, go up in the stairs, utilize, the time we had before we got in the studio so that we were really prepared for the day. And I think you'll notice a lot of professional dancers now are doing more cross-training type activities in parallel, and not necessarily just Pilates or yoga, but more weightlifting and running and things that our previous generations wouldn't have even thought of doing. To finish up your warm-up, I do suggest doing some dynamic stretches, things like leg swings and deep squats, lunges, things that move your body through full ranges of motion so that when you hit your first grand plie, it's not the first time that you have performed that that day. So in addition to warming up before class, I want you to warm up before you do any type of cross-training activity. When you do start any strength training or cardiovascular training, in addition to your dance training, I want you to start slow. It's going to be a different type of movement than you're used to. So it's going to take time for your body to adapt to what you're asking of it. Don't go online and find the hardest cross-training video that you've ever seen, because odds are you're going to fail and your body's not ready to do that. So I'm going to start with some basic activities today that you should be able to get started with and then build upon from there. When you're strength training or cross training, I want you to train in parallel as well as turned out, and even into internal rotation. By varying the forces on your joints, you're making sure that you're not getting repetitive joint stresses that can cause things like tendonitis or any other cartilage type damage when you're only hitting one part of the joint. You can start on the floor with some band work or some Pilates work or something that you've already been exposed to and get really good at those exercises. But again, variety is good. You do want to train in different dance styles as well as different activities, especially while you're still growing. I know some of you have probably already matured in your skeletal system, but it's still good even into your 20s, 30s, 40s, your whole lifetime to vary what you're doing in order to promote total body health, wellness, and reduce risk of repetitive injury strain, which is super common in dancers. I am going to spend a little bit of time here on my soapbox about stretching because it's something that as dancers we love to do. It's super easy. It feels really good. We want to get these super high extensions. But unfortunately, there are a lot of things that we do culturally as dancers that is really damaging. So I want to kind of dispel some myths and promote some healthier stretching habits through this video. While you want to utilize your full available joint range of motion, you don't want to stretch into joint capsules or ligaments, which are kind of the covering that go around the joint to prevent it from popping out. This is super important for hips and ankles, but also important for knees because they have a wide range of motion, and without those structures, your joint is literally mashing around and causing damage, which later will present as arthritis, which I think we all know what that is, and we know that people are super uncomfortable, it's painful, and we want to avoid that if possible. They did a study, I forget when it was, I'll have to pull that research article if you want it, but there are some facts that I like to stick around or give to my dancers are at least 60 to 75% of dancers have labral tears in their hip, which is damage to the cartilage due to the extreme range of motions that we put ourselves through, with 89% of dancers having borderline or full hip dysplasia, meaning that the hip doesn't stay fully in the socket. So I'm hoping that I'm getting this information to you early enough that you haven't caused any lasting damage, but hopefully it'll be enough to tell you, hey, maybe I shouldn't stretch into these really extreme positions that maybe you've seen on Instagram or online on YouTube. You want to avoid stretching for longer than 20 minutes. After that time, your muscles are fully stretched and you're just going into those soft tissues that you don't want to be stretching. You want to avoid bouncing because this actually causes a reflexive contraction of the muscle, which is totally counterproductive. So you want to be easy, slow, sustain the hold at a moderate stretch for about 20 to 30 seconds. Do it no more than 2 to 3 times. And that should be fine for every major muscle group in your lower extremities. One thing that I do want to point out is actually the best evidence for improving your muscle length is actually eccentric strength training. So it's not even a stretching exercise at all, but it's utilizing the muscle where it's lengthening and contracting at the same time. One example that you could relate to would be a planche. The standing leg is lengthening, the hamstring is lengthening while you're still contracting it. And there's some other strength training exercises that I'll go over today that are similar, but in a lunge, in a deep squat, in a deadlift, which we'll do today, those are all lengthening exercises that will improve the length of your hamstring without actually actively stretching it. So I want you to start incorporating some of those into your strength training program, and you'll benefit in improved hamstring length. In order to maintain flexibility, it's recommended that you stretch 1 time a week. I think most of you are probably stretching more than that. If you want to improve your flexibility, 3 to 4 times a week is sufficient. And then those other times where you were stretching maybe, or maybe you weren't doing anything at all, you can focus on your cardiovascular activity or your strengthening to improve your overall performance in dance and prevent injuries. So just to recap, strength training and cross training improves your joint stability during extreme ranges of motion, which will improve your extensions anyways. Strength training will improve your versatility, not only in your muscle performance, but in your ability to perform different styles of dance, different styles of choreography, which if you look at the dance world now, it's super diverse. You are performing everything from acrobatics to, classical swan lake. And by training, you'll have the ability to kind of cross those genres more easily and have that muscle adaptability that you're looking for and choreographers are looking for in the world today. By cross-training, you'll also improve your cardiovascular endurance, which is really important for preventing injuries. We know that most injuries happen at the end of the day or the end of the season. So when you're the most fatigued, you are more prone to rolling your ankle, doing something silly, just so you can kind of fake it till you make it, when really you should be training to your demands. So if you know that you have to perform for the entire 10 minutes of snow during Nutcracker, you should be able to perform a light jog for 10 minutes without kind of looking like you're heaving and you're sucking wind in order to achieve that. That way your performance on stage is going to be that much better. So ways to achieve that outside of strength training are biking, swimming. They all have a little bit of resistance in them, which is good for the joints and the muscles, and they're performed in parallel instead of turnout, which is good for joint stability. But you can probably, I'll leave my email if you guys want to email me and say, hey, is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? A lot of people are told not to run. I say if you can run without being in turnout, run. I mean, it's good for your cardiovascular endurance. It's good for muscle variability. Choose a softer surface. If you have a track or a treadmill instead of running on pavement, that's just better for your joints in general. But I think the benefits outweigh the risks as long as you're doing it safely and it's something that you like doing, most importantly. All right, so up next, we're going to run you through a little warm-up, a strength training series, and then finish on some stretches that maybe you are doing, maybe you aren't doing, but we're going to review technique, how far you should be going, and we'll kind of see how we do from there. All right, let's hit it. All right, so we're going to start with some cardiovascular activities, right, to warm up. So we're going to start with some jogging in place and some jumping jacks. So we're going to do 2 counts of 8 on each leg, okay? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. So we're trying to keep in our quarantine space, right? So I'm trying to do some things that you can do in a space that's not that big. Obviously, if you have stairs available, you can run up and down the stairs. If you have space to walk, you can walk in circles, anything to kind of get that heart rate elevated. All right, so we're going to come on to our hands and knees, work on some spinal mobility real quick. So I'll do this kind of at a diagonal. So this one's called Thread the Needle. It's really good for engaging the core and working on your back mobility, which if you think of the back, it's the center from which everything else comes mobility-wise. All right, so we're gonna reach through and towards the ceiling. 1. Good, we're gonna do 5. 2. Really rotate from your belly button as much as you can. 3. 4. 5. Good. Left side. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. Good. work on elevating that heart rate a little bit more. We're gonna come into a plank. We're gonna do 8 shoulder taps and 8 leg lifts. So when you're doing this, create our space here. You wanna make sure that the hips are level. You don't want them sinking down and you don't want them up, okay? So we're gonna do 8 of each kind. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Legs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Doesn't look like much, but it should start engaging your core. You get some shoulder stability and some glute work. All right, so you should be starting to get a little bit increased heart rate, starting to feel a little bit warmer. All right, so we're gonna do a yoga series. So make sure you have enough space ahead and behind you. So we're gonna reach up towards the ceiling, dive forward so you're lengthening your hamstrings. Come up to about your knees, flatten your back, back down. Good. So you don't have to swatch, I'm just showing you. Good. You're gonna walk out into a down dog. Again, the back should be flat. From here, come into push-up position, slowly lower. Come up into an extension or up dog. Abs are engaged. Back down. Use the core to bring you up into down dog. And then you can walk your feet and roll back up. So we do that 3 times. All right, so start at the back of your mat, reaching up, diving down, knees are soft, not staying in that stretch too long, everything's dynamic. Down dog. Good, come into plank. Slowly lower down. Up dog. Use your core. Back to down dog. Depending on your space, walk your feet or your hands back. Rolling back up, reach up. This is number 2. Half lift and down. Down dog. Good, transfer forward. Slowly lower down. And up. The hair is everywhere. Good, down dog. Good, last time. And down. Walk it forward. Good. Last up dog. Bring it down to child's pose. All right, so you're getting that mobility, dynamic stretching in. We're gonna come up. We're gonna work on some deep squats to improve the mobility of the hips, the glutes, and the back. For these, I want your arms up. We're gonna do 8 normal people deep squats. Ready? Arms are up. 1. Squeeze the glutes. 2. 3. 4. 5. Knees are over toes in line with the hips. 6. 7. 8. Good. Let's bring it out into second position. We're going to do 4 grand pliés. This is kind of like follow the leader here. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. So getting into that deep groin stretch here. Again, not holding. 3, but each one you feel a little bit wider. Last one. Good. So for the ankle joint, we've done a good job of hips and knees. For the ankle, we're going to do rocking forward so you hit your kind of deepest plie. So we're rocking forward. 1, 2, 3. We're going to 16. 4, 5, 6. Back leg is parallel. 8. 8 more. 8. 7, 6, 5. If you have something to hold on to, that's good. All right. So you should feel that nice crease at the front of the ankle. We're going to do 16 to the other side. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're feeling restricted, this is something we'll do a stretch later that'll help with. I think that's about 8. I could be wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, last one, we're going to stretch the arch. So we're going to do 4 starch, 16. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Second set of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. So your warm-up doesn't have to look exactly like that, but it should have some of those same elements. Something to get your heart rate going, something that utilizes your entire range of motion, some dynamic stretching, and you should feel a little elevated heart rate and maybe starting to perspire a little bit, but you don't have to be super sweaty before class. All right? All right, we're going to move on to strength. So for your strength, we want to have a TheraBand to start with. Now, eventually you can probably move into using light resistance, but for today we're going to start with a TheraBand, which is something you probably already have. If you don't, you can do the exercises with just your body weight, and that's a good place to start as well. But eventually, as dancers, you should be strong enough that you're using a medium to heavy band, and then moving into more resisted activities. So the first thing we're going to do is a squat with a TheraBand. We already did a couple squats of just our body weight, so I think we're ready to move into something a little bit harder. So like I talked about before, hips, knees, ankles are all in the same line. For your resisted squat, I'm going to have you step on the TheraBand so your feet are about hip width apart. You can be slightly turned out, and what I mean by that is your feet don't have to point straight. They can be slightly turned out if that's more comfortable in your hips. You're going to reach so that you have some resistance in standing already. What we're going to do is we're going to squat down, squeeze the glutes and the abs to come up to straight. We're going to do 2 sets of 8. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Chest is up. Pulling up. 2. Squeeze the glutes. 3. Up. 4. If you don't feel any resistance, you can choke up on the band. 6, 7, 8. You really want to think of pushing through the heels to come up. I'll do the second set of 8 facing this way. 5, 6, 7, 8. Squatting down. Up. 2. Up. 3. Up. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. Good. Not too bad. So the next one we're going to do is a deadlift. So a deadlift is something that heavy weightlifters do, but it's a really functional movement. Frequently throughout the day, we're often picking things up. You know, we're told to bend our knees, but this one you're going to keep the knees soft, but you're going to hinge from your hips. So the back stays neutral. You're going to bend forward as far as you can without breaking in the low back, so the back should remain straight, and then come all the way up. So this is one of the stretching exercises that I was telling you about, or I'm sorry, eccentric exercises. So the hamstring is lengthening while we're contracting it. For our resistance, we're gonna have the band the same way we had it set up before, with a little bit more slack in between. So you wanna make sure that you have your feet firmly planted on the band so it doesn't snap out. But, so you're gonna grab in between, the knees are soft, back is flat, we're gonna come up, slowly back down. We're gonna do this 8 times. 2, slowly back down. 3, 4, again, heels into the earth, squeeze the glutes. 6, 7, 8. Good. I'm going to show you the second round facing this way. Take a rest for a second. All right. Ready? Make sure you're firmly planted on that band. It's not going to snap back at you. Back is flat. Knees are soft but not straight. All right. 1, 2, 3. Feel that tailbone initiating. 4. That pull on the sits bones. 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. So we're working the muscles in a little bit different way. So the next one is a single leg squat to the chair. I brought my office chair. Any chair, bed, bench will do. I use this as a strength test in the clinic all the time, especially for my knee, hip, and ankle patients. There's a correlation between hip strength and ankle stability. So this is a good single leg activity that's pretty challenging, that is a test, but also a good exercise for you to do to make sure that you're strong enough on your standing leg, which translates into stability during pirouettes, during adagio, what have you. So we're gonna start in the chair. We're gonna be, let's start with our left leg, since we normally start with our left hand on the bar. Right knee is up. We're gonna stand up. And you can see I can work on these too. Make sure my chair doesn't swivel away from me. What you're looking for is hips equal. You don't want them coming up or down. We're gonna do 5. My chair keeps rotating away from me. Always make sure that there's a chair behind you. 3. You guys are going to do this even better than I do. 4, 5. Good. All right, let's do the other side. Obviously, this is not the most ideal chair. Ready? 1, and you're gonna have even less wobble than I am. 2, I do recommend a chair that's not gonna roll away from you. 3, 4, 5. Good. Rest for a second. We're gonna do round 2 of that one. It's kind of humbling. I mean, I haven't done this one a lot recently, and you can see I'm pretty shaky. The goal is to keep the knee in line with the ankle and the hip. You don't want it crossing your midline. Ready? We're going to do 5 more on each side. I'm going to keep making sure that my chair is not going to roll away from me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Catch your breath. We're going to do it to the right one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come here, chair. All right, good. All right, so the next one I use as a pre-point exercise, but it's a good check to see how your single leg stability is, which is super important when you get onto point, because if you're not stable on your leg, then that leaves your ankle vulnerable to sprains, strains, stress fractures, things like that, which we don't want, which can be sidelining for a period of weeks to months. Okay, so let's get that silly chair out of the way. So for this one, I'm going to demonstrate side and front, but we're going to do a single leg deadlift, but it's kind of like a penché to 90 degrees with a fondue. So we're going to go down to, I'll hold it here while I'm talking, to 90 degrees. You're going to plie, straighten up, and come up into parallel. It's kind of hard to multitask with this one, so I really want you to focus. So when you do your plie, you really want to keep this knee in line with the ankle. Don't let it come in. That's a dangerous position for your knees. If you can't do this without holding on, it's better to hold on than to do it and have your alignment go out of whack. So we're going to do 5 on each side. I'm going to hold on because I'm talking and exercising at the same time. I encourage you the first couple of reps to maybe have your hand on something stable so you can check your form, but then try it with just the arms reaching down to the ground. All right? 5, 6, 7, 8. Penché down. 2, 3, 4. Plie. 2, 3, 4. Back up. 2, 3, 4. Rest. Ready. Here we go. Second set. 3, 4. Plie. 2 up. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 3 more to go. Here we go. Penché 2, 3, 4. Plie 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. Here we go. Penché 2, 3, 4. Down. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4. 2 more. 1 more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down. 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. All right. You guys can watch that, see if I did an honest 5 or if I lost count because I'm trying to do too many things at once. All right, so we're going to do the other side. Get my little chair here. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, 4, second set, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, third set, here we go. 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, 4, fourth set, here we go. 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4, last set, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 4, 1, 2. That's surprisingly fatiguing. All right, how you guys doing? Need a little break? So we're gonna move into some lateral motions. We're getting all the hard stuff done first, and then we'll move to the ground. So we're gonna do a lateral lunge. Super important when we do this. We're getting a good stretch in the groin and some lateral dynamic stability of the leg. I want your knees going over the toes, so they don't have to be super parallel. They can be that slight turnout. But I really want you to sink back in your hips. All right, so we're gonna do 8 to the right, and then I'm gonna take a side step and we're gonna do 8 to the left. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Step to the side. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So we're gonna come down to the ground. We're gonna do some clamshells. I want to give you a couple variations and maybe some things that you guys haven't seen before. I think we all know the typical clam. So band goes above your knees. I'm going to show you the position in here. When you're lying on the ground, I want your shoulders, hips, and knees in one position. I think oftentimes we set up the clam with the knees in front of the hips, like this. But that works more of your hip flexors. We want to bring your hips back so that you get more of the back of your glute. It just translates a little bit better into dance. So you can either do your clamshells here or come up into a side plank for a little extra stability challenge for your standing leg. So that way you're working the bottom hip and the top hip. So we're gonna do 16 here. You can choose to be either flat or up in a plank. I'm gonna do a plank today. Ready, set, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you're feeling it, you can reach up to the ceiling. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Switching to the other side. Take a breath. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2. You want to make sure you're not rolling backwards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Reach. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. So we did a lot of parallel training, but we also want to incorporate a little bit of turnout training because we live there a lot, right? We also want to incorporate some internal rotation motions just to help balance the hip joint. We're only as strong as our weakest muscle. So if our internal rotators are weak, then things like landing jumps can be compromised because you want to be able to control that motion. It's, you know, everything comes into play. I like that saying, we're only as strong as our weakest muscle. All right, so same thing. We're going to be in this extended position, but we're going to bring the foot up. A couple of variations. You can do this laying on your tummy and pull the feet out this way. I think that's a really great place to start. Or lying on your side and pulling it up. We're going to do this version because we can do 2 legs at the same time. And we're going to do 16. We're ready. Navel is drawn up off the floor, tailbone is sliding back towards your heel, so your pelvis is in a neutral position. 5, 6, 7, 8, pulling out and in. Try not to let them slam together. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's harder than it looks, 13, 14, 15, 16. Good. All right, I'm going to take this off. All right, so we're going to do a couple exercises for our core. The reason being, in terms of our lower extremities, if our core is unstable, then everything else kind of falls apart. So I chose 2, but there's so many out there. We're going to do a bicycle crunch and a Superman. Let me flip this sideways. So we're going to do 2 sets of 8 or 16 bicycle crunches on each side. I really want you to think about pulling that navel in towards your spine and flattening your back onto the mat. And I only want you to lift up to about the bra line, all right? So we're going to do, you can either do hands on your knees or hands behind your head, depending on how confident you are in your belly. But you do want to make sure that your belly is scooping and that the muscles are not doming up towards the ceiling. If the muscles are doming up, then I prefer that you keep the hands in front of you and maybe increase the height of your legs up towards the ceiling a little bit. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Crunch it in and relax. We're going to flip over. So for our Superman, you can either have the hands here, under your forehead, or up in on O. I'm going to do forehead, but pick your variation. We want your belly button pulling in, that tailbone dropping down. The legs can be turned out kind of in a second position. We're only going to come up to about the bottom of your rib cage, so we're lifting from about the bra line or below your shoulder blades. 2 sets of 8. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. All right, so that's a little teaser of a strength training program. We hit every major muscle group from your core down. The one thing that I would add are some calf raises. So I know we're used to doing our TheraBand, ankle, plantar flexion, or pointing and flexing and pulling in and out, but you want to graduate from those into some weight bearing activities. Actually, why don't we do some right here? So I want to do 16 parallel releves, and then 16, or eleves rather, and then 16 in first position. Ready? Can't forget about those calves. I almost let you go, but we're gonna do them in parallel. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Turning out. Rest for a second. Maybe do a plie. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Don't let the ankles roll in. Keep those arches up. 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So especially when you're in quarantine, you should be doing those to maintain that calf strength. So when you do go back to point work, you have that available to you. If it's getting difficult for you to do 20, then you should really start ramping it up and doing it every day, because eventually I'd like for you to be able to do 2 sets of 20 on single leg. That's kind of our strength test for point work. All right, take a quick break, and then we're going to do some stretching to cool down. Like I said, we did our dynamic stretching in the beginning. We did our eccentric strengthening in the middle to help improve some of our hamstring flexibility. Tends to be one of the things that dancers come to me a lot with, but you could do it with other joints as well. You can reach out to me at, I'll provide my email if you guys want to contact me. All right. So we're going to move into a half kneeling series. So I want you to squeeze the glute, bring that pubic bone up towards your rib cage. You should feel it at the top of your hip. Little bonus stretch, you can reach up, slightly over to the right. Again, we're not in extreme range of motion. We're going to hold this for a couple breaths. Good. Come into our lunge. So hopefully you have enough space. But again, hips are square, knee is straight. Feeling a stretch through the front of the thigh and the back of this leg. We're going to drop the knee down. This is for the front of the ankle. So similar to our warm-up where we're bouncing, or not bouncing, gliding the shin bone over the foot, we're going to do it kneeling so we can get a little bit deeper into the back of that calf and the front of the ankle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. So with that knee in front of you, I actually want you to bring it out to the side. Hips are going to transfer. So we open up the groin. This is kind of in addition to, you can finish on your splits and your typical stretches, but these are good hip openers as well. Stay here for a couple breaths. Good. Left side. Tuck that tailbone. Pubic bone draws up towards your rib cage. Arm up towards the ceiling. Increase that stretch. If you don't feel a stretch, you can come a little bit forward, but what I don't want you to do is lose the back and it turn into this. So the whole picture has to come forward. Good. Come into a lunge. Again, we're not holding these for an incredible length of time. You You shouldn't really hold a stretch more than 30 seconds to a minute anyways, because then you just start going into those ligaments and joint capsules and things that we don't want to stretch. Good. Drop the knee. We're going to rock it forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, if you need to hold on to something, that's fine. 2, 6, 7, 8. Second set. 1, 2. If you need to bring that ankle towards you to increase that stretch. I'm not putting a lot of force, but I am dynamically moving towards that full range of motion. Good. Feel that nice deep crease in the front of the ankle. All right, so for our hamstring stretching, there's a couple ones that I prefer. I don't like just bending forward from the hips. I prefer that you stretch on your back to maintain the back in a neutral position. So we're going to do what's called contract relax. So we're going to put the hands behind the knee, calf, ankle, wherever. You're going to push into the foot or into the hands. So you're going to push 2, 3, 4, 5, and then relax, let it come towards you. Push again, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let it come towards you. We're going to do that 3 times on each leg. Ready? Pushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax it towards you. Pushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let it come towards you. Last time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let it come towards you, hold. Good, and switch. Find your comfortable spot. You don't want to force anything. Pushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Pushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Last time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Good. So we're going to lie on your side. We're going to grab the foot. We're going to do a quad stretch. So for this, you want your knee in line with your hip. I don't want it up here. So grab your foot and then drop it down. You can do the same thing where you pull forward and stretch. We're just going to take a static stretch here. Couple deep breaths. Feels good after all those squats and lunges. Sorry, I'm barely in the frame here. This is quarantine life. Good. Let's switch. Bottom leg can be straight or bent depending on the space that you have. Grab the foot. So we've hit every major muscle group except for our external rotators, which we'll hit in a second. All right, so the last one we're going to do here is our figure 4 stretch. So you've probably done this one before. Cross your right leg over your left. Put your hands through the hole. Grab the back of the thigh. Pull it in. Two more breaths. Good, and switch. All right, so now is when would be a good time to focus on your splits. Front, side, any other areas of tightness, whether it's your shoulders, back. If you need advice, I'll leave my contact information for your teachers. And I hope you guys learned something as kind of an overview. Strength and overstretching will be your friend to help prevent injuries. Make sure you master some of those single leg activities we tried today, both the single leg squat and the penché plie. Those are two kind of go-to tests I have for my pre-point, in addition to single leg, 20 repetitions on each side, strongly without the ankle wobbling. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I hope you had a good workout, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, take care. Bye.